Hey everybody, it's Gabriel Abrams. Welcome back to the channel. We got a super exciting topic today because we're discussing one of my favorite amino acids called taurine. And usually when I tell either my patients about taurine or other people, they either fall into one or two categories. One, they've never heard of it. This is most people never heard of taurine because most people do not research, really awesome supplements or things that improve your life and keep you healthy. Or two, they fall into this other category where, oh, it's in energy drinks. And I've heard a lot of bad things on the internet about taurine. So we're just going to break through and just get straight to the truth about what taurine is. We're going to review some really critical studies about taurine and its effects on anti-aging, your heart, diabetes, obesity, muscle recovery, your brain, especially your brain. It does amazing things for it. So we're going to get into all of that in this video because it's incredibly important that you understand the truth about, the things that you put into your body, the things that you need. And taurine is just one of those things that, especially in this modern world where everyone's so stressed out and they're trying to maintain their health and everybody's nutritionally deficient, it's just imperative that you know about something like taurine because it's not that expensive, and it's incredibly for your health. So what is taurine, right? Taurine, it's a naturally occurring amino acid. You usually find it in your brain, your muscles, your organs, and it's semi-essential, meaning that your body produces a little bit of it in your liver. So your body produces a little bit of it, but you get a majority of it through your diet. And taurine's usually most present in seafoods. So your fish, squid, oysters, all these things have lots of taurine in them. Meat is also a great source of taurine, not as much as in seafood. And I actually have a really great article on elitemobileiv.com where you can see all the different foods with how much taurine they have. But then in the for vegetables, doesn't have as much taurine. And you can, if you're vegetarian, you just have to be mindful of your diet. You can either supplement with taurine if you need to, or look into eating some seaweed or some certain types of algae, even spirulina. Those are some excellent sources of taurine, and you can still keep a vegetarian diet. And I'm not advocating for one or the other. I'm just letting you know that you want to make sure you're getting taurine in your diet, or at least supplementing with it if you're deficient. And we'll go into why. So what does taurine do for your body? Well, it's involved in regulating your central nervous system. It is important for electrolyte balance and hydration. It's used for the modulation of calcium, antioxidant activity, the production of bile salts in your gallbladder, so it helps digest fats, and for your vision and eye health. So taurine works on so many different systems in your body, and it's incredibly important for your entire health. I mean, you have to have taurine. So the first study that I want to look at with you guys is called Taurine Deficiency as a Driver of Aging. Now, this is a super fascinating study that was recently published about taurine showing incredible anti-aging properties. And what they did is they tested on mice. They had a control group that they were feeding a regular diet to, that didn't really have any taurine in it. And then they had another group of mice that they fed a taurine-rich diet to. And what they discovered was that the group of mice that were eating taurine or more taurine than the control group were living on average significantly longer. And we'll get into all those details. So why did they decide to research taurine? Well, taurine is one of those things that decreases with age. So if you're 60 years old, you may only have a third of amount of the taurine as someone who's like 15 years old. It's just something you naturally lose with age. So if you can replenish taurine, then the idea is hopefully you'll live longer, and not only live longer, but have a better quality of life too. Okay? So what they did to investigate this, and this is a quote from the study, to investigate whether this decline contributes to aging, we orally fed taurine or a control solution once daily to middle-aged wild-type female and male mice until the end of life. Taurine-fed mice of both sexes survived longer than the control mice. And you're probably wondering, well, how much longer? Are we talking they lived a few extra days or what? The median lifespan of taurine-treated mice increased 10 to 12%. Furthermore, life expectancy at 28 months increased by about 18 to 25%. So these mice are living on average 18 to 25% longer than the control group. And what if humans were living even 10%, even just 10% longer? that's quite significant. Let's say the average lifespan for a person nowadays is 80 years old. 10%, that's another 8 years. That's a lot. There's a lot you can do in 8 years. So it's quite significant. So obviously the researchers were curious now. Okay, so they're living longer, but were they living better, right? Because obviously you wouldn't want to live longer as a vegetable or slowly rotting away or whatever. So did their quality of life improve? And what they found was an improved functioning of bone, muscle, pancreas, brain, fat, gut, and immune system, indicating an overall increase in health span. We observed similar effects in monkeys. So that's what they said. They saw that basically every part of their body was working better, and they were getting similar results in other species as well. So that's quite impressive. Other things they noticed: taurine reduced cellular senescence, so cells that are not reproducing anymore and not dying off like they should. It also protected against telomerase deficiency, suppressed mitochondrial dysfunction, decreased DNA damage, and attenuated inflammation. So just to really put that into normal words, basically they were producing energy great. Their DNA was being okay. Basically everything that you need to live healthfully was being preserved better. So really great results in this study. And what they saw in humans was low taurine in humans were associated with adverse health such as increased abdominal obesity, hypertension, inflammation, and prevalence of type 2 diabetes. Moreover, we found a bout of exercise increased the concentrations of taurine metabolites in blood, which might partially underlie the anti-aging effects of exercise. So humans that are low in taurine or have a taurine deficiency, they're obese, they're more susceptible to diabetes, they're having higher amounts of inflammation. So, it's pretty severe negative health outcomes. And also another part of that I wanted to include in this video was with exercise. If you're exercising, you're increasing your taurine in your blood, and that's healthy for you. I mean, that's great. And that's why exercise is one of the best things that you can do for anti-aging. If you want to live longer and you want to live more healthfully, the first thing you need to do is start exercising as much as you can. Not like you have to exercise all day every day, but every day you should be doing something. It doesn't have to be crazy. You don't have to go be a full-on athlete or anything, but you need to exercise every single day. And it's really fascinating to me that taurine was increased with exercise, because perhaps that could be one of the reasons that exercise helps you to live longer. And another thing too, wasn't a part of this study, it was part of a different study, but on an empty stomach, you're actually using your taurine better. Your taurine is more bioavailable, so your body can use it better. And that could be another reason that there's so much research on fasting and how it has anti-aging effects and helps reduce diabetes and all these other things. I mean, there's several different reasons why everything works, but each little bit, even just that little bit more taurine, helps contribute to that larger picture of even things like anti-aging. So really incredible. The second study that I wanted to look at is called the anti-inflammatory effect of taurine on cardiovascular disease. So now we're talking about taurine and your heart function. So in humans, taurine has shown anti-inflammatory effects, blood pressure regulation, and at high levels may protect against coronary heart disease. So this study was showing that taurine was reducing inflammation. It was helping regulate blood pressure and even lowering blood pressure and protecting against heart disease and coronary artery disease and all these other things that could basically kill you, right? They noted that populations with higher meat intake compared to high seafood intake have much higher CVD-related death rates. So at the beginning of this video, we're talking about how seafood has a lot of taurine in it, significantly more than other meats like red meat. And populations that were consuming a lot more seafood were living longer. And they're hypothesizing, well, maybe it's because they're getting much more taurine. So that's another thing that kind of shows that, hey, maybe taurine's helping people live longer and helping improve their heart function. Cultured neonatal rat cardiomyocytes exposed to ischemic conditions at varying time periods with apoptosis showed the advantageous effects of taurine on the intrinsic apoptosis pathways. So a lot of big words there, but basically what happened is they were taking heart cells from, I don't know if they were born or unborn rats, or newly born rats, that's probably the correct word, and they put it through heart attack conditions. So they restricted oxygen to these heart cells, and when these cells were fortified with taurine, they weren't dying off as quickly as you would expect them to. They're actually resisting the heart attack. So, it really helps protect your heart as well. Um, Taurine also affects the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. So that's like a really complicated system in your body that helps regulate your blood pressure through different pathways. And what taurine is doing is it's helping to regulate your blood pressure. It has an effect on this RAS system that is lowering your blood pressure. So if you struggle with high blood pressure, taurine, it may be something to look into because it shows that it can really help reduce blood pressure. In another study, rats were exposed to mechanical stress to elevate blood pressure and supplemented with 200 milligrams per kilogram per day of taurine. It was found that in the control group, ACE was overactivated, so that's part of that angiotensin aldosterone system, and that contributed to the mechanism of elevated blood pressure. This overactivation of ACE was counterbalanced with ACE2 upregulation after taurine supplementation and was correlated with the reduction in blood pressure. So basically, just to really summarize that, feeding taurine to rats basically reduced their blood pressure. So they overstimulated these mice, they increased their blood pressure artificially, and they gave them taurine, and the taurine helped to regulate that and bring it back down. So pretty impressive. Another part that's super fascinating to me, beneficial effects of taurine in diabetes and obesity. So in fact, a study in alloxin-induced type 1 diabetic rat models, taurine supplementation prevented beta cell injury in the pancreatic islets with an increase in glycogen, insulin, and C-peptide content, and a decrease in fructosamine and glucose in the liver. So what it was doing, it was protecting these beta cells in your pancreas, which is what produces insulin, and it's also lowering blood sugar. So taurine, at least according to the study, is helping to prevent the risk of diabetes or even helping to manage diabetes and control your blood sugar. In a study conducted on OLETF rats aged 50 weeks with chronic diabetes, it's so funny to me that it's not funny at all, but they're giving rats diabetes. Taurine supplementation resulted in decreased resistance to insulin and decreased serum glucose and lipid concentrations. So taurine, they were giving taurine to mice, and their insulin resistance was basically they're decreasing their insulin resistance and their serum glucose. So basically it's helping to manage their diabetes. Another thing, taurine in obesity. Taurine deficiency is associated with promoting obesity in both animals and human studies. So if you're deficient in taurine, you're going to have a higher risk of being obese. Taurine has shown to be beneficial in reducing obesity-related inflammation, reducing the risk of CAD and CVD, so coronary artery disease and coronary vascular disease. So pretty impressive. Taurine on heart health. Another part of this study for y'all. I know we're getting really in depth into this information, but people be hating on taurine, but they haven't really read these studies. In a randomized single-blind placebo-controlled study, it was noted that supplementation of taurine, 500 milligrams for 3 times a day for 2 weeks in patients with heart failure due to coronary artery disease was able to increase exercise capacity. So it was just helping people that were having problems with their heart start exercising again, which is great because how are you going to fix your heart? Well, you got to exercise. In addition, patients with congestive heart failure given 3 grams of taurine per day for 6 weeks showed significant improvement in systolic left ventricular function compared to the control coenzyme Q10 treated group. So they were giving taurine to patients with heart failure, and now all of a sudden their left ventricle, which is what's pushing the blood throughout your system, is improving. So you're circulating blood better, which is, it's crucial for life. If you're not circulating blood, you're going to die. There is a graph here from the study. I will link it below, but it shows you what they were treating with taurine and the dosage that they were giving and the outcome that they received. And in a lot of these, they had pretty significant outcomes or no real big change at all. So usually what you can understand from this is that taurine definitely wasn't harming anybody. Everybody in these studies were perfectly safe, and they either improved or they didn't improve, but it seems like most people improved. So that's great. Taurine athletic performance. You may see some like supplements, like a pre-workout or post-workout, whatever. Some of them may have taurine in it. Taurine, it can help with athletic performance. It helps recover your muscles. There's a lot of, there's some studies on it and what it's doing. We can talk a little bit about it, but taurine, it helps with fat metabolism, so it's breaking down that fat into energy. So if you're obese and you're exercising, you're taking taurine, it's going to help kind of melt all that fat away and use it for energy. It helps to inhibit oxidative stress by improving mitochondrial function. So, your mitochondria is working better. You're producing more energy. You're going to be a stronger athlete. There was a noticeable increase in strength and power with taurine supplements compared to a placebo. And also taurine also helped to reduce muscle soreness post exercise in some athletes. When I was reading the study, it was pretty good. It showed that athletes they were generally having increased performance. It wasn't anything like super drastic, but they were less sore, they were a little stronger, they were a little faster, and they felt a little better. Or there wasn't much change to really say that it was taurine that was doing it. So it can help with athletic performance. The research is definitely showing that it doesn't do nothing for it. So if you're an athlete and you want to get boosted with taurine, the research is behind you there. This is something I'm incredibly fascinated by, but taurine and neuroprotective properties. So if you're looking to prevent or help someone that has like really bad anxiety, stress, sleep problems, memory problems, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, all these different things that like affect the brain. Taurine, it's at least the study was showed really great outcomes for them. So the study is called Taurine Supplementation as a Neuroprotective Strategy Upon Brain Dysfunction and Metabolic Syndrome and Diabetes. We talked a little bit about metabolic syndrome and diabetes earlier. I really want to dial in on this neuroprotective strategy because retaining and improving your brain function is super critical. When I was working in the ER, like most of the patients that we saw there, I would say 99% of them, they had some kind of cognitive decline of some sort. Like they weren't thinking to the levels they should have been. They were unable to take care of themselves. Really bad dementia, falling all the time. There were so many falls that we saw in the ER. It's quite horrific what happens when you lose your mind. And, taurine, it's something that can really help protect your brain. So, it's definitely worth looking into. Quote from the study, obesity and insulin resistance increases the risk of developing age-related cognitive decline, which is true. If you look into like Alzheimer's, or dementia, what is it really? It's what they call type 3 diabetes. It is a glucose problem in the brain. Your brain is not getting the energy that it needs because you're so insulin resistant that the cells can't absorb any energy. So, if you're having diabetes, or high blood sugar even, you're increasing your risk of cognitive decline. So if taurine can help reduce your blood sugar levels and help manage all of that, then surely it can have an effect with preventing cognitive decline. But also it works in the brain too. You have a lot of taurine in your brain right now, and taurine, it has an effect in your brain. So let's see what it says. Quote, taurine levels were found reduced up to 36% in the CSF in the cerebral spinal fluid of individuals diagnosed with dementia and probable Alzheimer's who had never been treated with antidepressant or neuroleptic medications, and in individuals with advanced symptoms of Alzheimer's. So these patients that were presenting with cognitive decline, like Alzheimer's, they were having 36%. They found 36% less taurine in their brain. So, or not in their brain, but in their cerebral spinal fluid. They found that they had 36% less taurine. In another study, cerebral spinal fluid taurine levels in Alzheimer's patients correlated significantly with cognitive scores. Altogether, one might speculate that taurine loss in patients with Alzheimer's is linked to worse cognitive deterioration. So what they're saying is that as your levels of taurine decrease in your body, you're having worsening cognitive decline. So, your Alzheimer's is progressing basically. Another quote from the study, reduced levels of blood taurine, between 23 and 40% less, have been observed in subjects with Alzheimer's disease. And in animal models, taurines treated have been reported to significantly improve functional recovery after traumatic brain injury or ischemic strokes. So, another thing to what we were saying already, if you have less taurine in your blood, like in your body, if there's less taurine in you, they're seeing that you're having more signs of Alzheimer's, or other cognitive decline. This study also, it didn't touch much on stress or anxiety, or things of that nature. I would suggest looking into it, doing some research on it, as well. But if you struggle with stress or anxiety, taurine, it works on GABA, and GABA is a neurotransmitter that is like the off switch for your brain. So it helps to relax your brain and shut things off. When you take taurine, it's a natural way to kind of help regulate your mood and help calm you down in the moment too. So look into taurine as well for stress, anxiety. It certainly can help, and talk to your doctor, of course, but it's worth trying. But yeah, that's what taurine is. There's a lot of people on the internet that are hating on taurine. Part of the reason I believe is you're seeing it in these energy drinks, which are obviously terrible for you. Like, I would never recommend anybody think that they should drink an energy drink to get the levels of taurine that they need for the day, because one, the quality in those energy drinks, we don't know what kind of quality taurine it is. It may not even be bioavailable. And also, that energy drink is filled with crap, right? Like, there's artificial colors, flavors, so much sugar in them, caffeine, a lot of things you really don't need and will cause you more harm than good. So, some people may say, oh yeah, the taurine gave me problems. Well, was it the taurine or was it the energy drinks? Because everybody that I know and have worked with, and used taurine with, even including myself, having done taurine IV infusions and taken taurine pills, never seen, in my personal clinical experience, I've never seen anyone have a bad reaction to taurine. Usually what most patients will say is, I feel so relaxed, or I feel sleepy now, or I feel like I could take the best sleep ever, or something of that nature. Everyone feels really relaxed with taurine. So I don't know what Andrew Huberman was talking about when he said his eyes were exploding, but taurine has quite the opposite effect. I think he drank one too many Red Bulls, because taurine does not do that. It's actually more like a vasodilator. It helps open things up. But yeah, guys, taurine, it's super awesome. Helps with anti-aging. It's going to help with your heart, help reduce your blood sugar, prevent diabetes, prevent cognitive decline. Do some research on taurine. I know this video is part of your research, but don't just take my word for it. You can read the studies in the comments. I'm going to link them there. You can do some research online. You can buy these things over the counter. Just make sure you get it from a good quality source where they're actually using like actual bioavailable stuff, and they're not putting a bunch of weird fillers and stuff. But yeah, definitely look into taurine, guys. It's phenomenal. Don't listen to all the hate online, and let me know what you guys think. Comment down below if you've done taurine, or if you've tried taurine, if you had a good experience with it or not. But I think a lot of the reason taurine got a lot of hate is because they put taurine in a lot of things that could cause problems, like energy drinks or pre-workout. Like, everyone's experiencing taurine that's mixed with something, but when you're just taking straight taurine, I personally never seen a problem with it. So that's all for this video. Make sure you subscribe, like, share this video. Let's get the word out about the amazing effects of taurine, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care. It's Gabriel. Bye bye.